Dodge City and in the territory on west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with the U.S. Marshal and the smell of Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The story of the violence that moved west with young America. The story of a man who moved with it. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal.
They told us a man we'd been looking for, a murderer, was in a cow camp on the North Fork of the Canadian River, about 100 miles south of Dodge. So Chester and I rode down to take a look. We found a fella there with a right name but the wrong face. So we started back. First night we camped in a dry, buffalo-rutted depression. The next morning I woke shortly after daybreak to find Chester already cooking breakfast.
Morning, Mr. Dillon. Meat'll be done soon.
Is the coffee made, Chester? That's what I need.
It's boiling. I didn't make much, though. I thought I'd better save our water.
You know, Chester, I'll bet right now the doc's back there in St. Louis, holed up in some fancy hotel and still asleep.
That's quite a thought, sir.
Yeah.
Him right in the middle of St. Louis and us way out here on the prairie.
I'll bet he's even got sheets on his bed.
I wouldn't be surprised, Mr. Dillon. Doc said this was one vacation he was going to splurge on. He's riding the Santa Fe both ways.
Huh?
Well, meat's done. I cleaned off this rock here to cut it on.
Oh, good. Good. Well, you got it warm anyway, Chester.
Well, now, meat shouldn't be overcooked, Mr. Dillon. That takes the taste clean out of it.
Now, then we ought to be able to taste everything about this steer. Eggman's disappointment.
How's that, Mr. Dillon?
Never mind, Chester. How come you woke up so early this morning?
Oh, I always do. Seems as soon as it gets daylight, my feet start to sweat, and then I just got to get up.
Well, that's as good a reason as any, I guess. Wow. Looks like we got company, Chester.
What?
Oh.
Where?
Right out there. Heading straight for us.
Oh, yeah. Some cowboy, probably.
I don't know. He doesn't ride quite like a cowboy.
Why, it's just a kid, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, it sure is.
Sure needs a haircut. What? Say, Mr. Dillon, it's a girl.
Now, what could she be doing out here?
I'm carrying a rifle, too.
Well, get on, miss, and have some coffee.
Who are you, mister?
Hi, this is Chester Proudfoot, and I'm Matt Dillon.
How do you do?
You rustlers or what?
Not exactly. I'm the U.S. Marshal out of Dodge, ma'am.
U.S. Marshal? Oh, that's good.
It is? Why?
I need help, Mr. Marshal. My daddy's awful sick.
Sick? Well, where is your daddy?
We got a homestead about a mile over that rise back there.
Oh, what's he sick with?
It's his leg, Mr. Marshal. A horse threw him and his saddle both in the corral, and then it stepped on his foot. Now his whole leg's all funny. He's got a fever, too.
Mr. Dillon, that sounds like it.
Yeah, I know, Chester. Tell me, miss, when the horse stepped on him, did it cut his foot, break the skin anywhere?
Just a scratch. Tore his boot off, though.
Oh.
Please, Mr. Marshal, please come see him. I'm scared, the way his leg is and everything.
Well, sure we'll come. Your mother with him now?
I don't have a mother, Mr. Marshal.
Oh. Well, then, what are you doing out here if your daddy's sick?
We ran out of meat about 3 days ago, and I don't have anything to feed him.
Oh. All right. Chester, I'll ride back with... what is your name, anyway?
Tara Hantry.
Oh.
I'll be 16 next January.
Well, that's fine. We'll go back to the Hantry place, Chester. You scout around for some meat.
All right, sir.
And if you don't find any antelope, shoot the first calf you see. Anybody's calf.
I'll do it, Mr. Dillon.
He's in the sleeping room, Mr. Marshal.
No.
Daddy. Daddy, I found a man, and he's going to help us. And, Daddy, he's a marshal, a U.S. marshal.
Matt Dillon, Mr. Hantry. How are you feeling?
Dillon? I've heard of you. You're from Dodge, aren't you?
That's right.
Well, Marshal, I ain't feeling so good. My foot don't hurt no more, but it and my leg is all sort of, well, it ain't pretty.
I don't know much about these things, but maybe I better take a look at it anyway, huh?
Sure. Sure, Marshal. There she is.
All right, you can cover it up.
I was in the war, Marshal. I know what gangrene is. Guess you do, too, huh?
Yeah. Well, the first thing, a friend of mine is out getting you some meat, and then we'll load you in your wagon. And
Ben took the wagon.
What?
Ben Warling. He took the wagon when Daddy got hurt. Said he'd find a doctor and bring him back.
Who's Ben Walling?
Oh, he's been sort of working here, Mr. Marshal.
I should have run him off long ago. That's what.
Well, where is he? What'd he take the wagon for? Where's he going to find a doctor around here anyway?
Closest doctor's in Dodge I know of.
Yeah, and he's in St. Louis, and he won't be back for a couple of weeks.
I couldn't get to him anyway.
Well, tell me, when did this happen?
About 6 days ago, Mr. Marshal.
Uh-huh.
Ben left the day after.
Well, you think he's coming back? Did he steal the wagon or what?
He comes back here and me not able to get around. I don't know what I'll do. I ought to take a bullwhip to
Now,
him.
take it easy,
Just a
Mr. Hand.
bullwhip.
Take it. He won't cause any trouble, so don't you get all worked up. Tara, we'll let him get some rest, huh?
All right.
We'll have some food for you soon, Mr. Hantry.
I ain't very hungry.
Tara, what's he so riled up about this Ben Walling for? What's between them?
Oh, it's nothing, Mr. Marshal. Daddy's sick, and that's all.
Look, Tara, you asked me to help you, didn't you?
Yes, but...
You trust me, don't you?
All right, Mr. Marshal. Daddy hates Ben because Ben... Well, Ben likes me.
Oh, I see.
He even wanted to marry me. Said he would.
How do you feel about Ben, Tara? You like him?
No. Of course, it's time I had a man and all that, but I'm afraid of Ben, Mr. Marshal. It's like there's something wrong with him. He's always sneaking around when you don't expect him. Makes me uneasy, like.
Well, we won't worry about Ben now. You stay here in case your daddy wants anything. I'll go outside and wait for Chester.
Mr. Marshal.
Hmm?
I'm awful glad you're here.
We'll see it through, Tara. Don't you worry.
I won't. Now.
I went outside and walked over to the small corral that stood nearby. There I rolled a smoke and looked out across the flat distances of the prairie. And I wondered how anyone could survive in all that emptiness. Hantry, lying on his bed back there in the house. He wouldn't survive. The prairie got to him all right. And its vast loneliness had put him out of reach of any help. And Tara, what could she do out here in this endless land of grass? I was glad to get my mind off it when Chester rode in with an antelope across his saddle. We hung it on the corral, dressed it, took a hind quarter into Tara, and we went back outside and sat down.
Yes, sir. She's a plucky girl, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, fine girl, Chester.
Yeah, but this Ben fella, I just don't understand his going off with the wagon like that.
Well, it doesn't matter much now. Entry won't last more than a day or two, anyway.
It's that bad, is it?
Yeah, blood poisoning, Chester. As soon as it reaches his heart, he's done for.
Well, isn't there any way to stop it?
Yeah, sure. Cut his leg off.
Oh. Too bad Doc isn't here.
Yeah.
Would that stop it, Mr. Dillon? Cutting his leg off, I mean?
I don't know, Chester. I don't know. Maybe too late anyway.
Well, I sure wish we could do something for him. I don't take to just sitting around and waiting for a man to die.
Well, nobody does.
It isn't right, somehow. That poor fella. And Tara. Why, Mr. Dillon, that girl will go crazy out here all alone.
All right, Chester. What do you want me to do about it? I'm not a doctor. Now, shut up.
Well, Mr. Dillon, you could do it. I know you could.
Do what?
Be a doctor. Long enough to save Mr. Hantree's life.
Are you
anyway.
out of your head?
No, sir.
Then what are you talking like that for? The most I ever did was doctor a horse for the colic. That's fine training for this, isn't it?
I know. I couldn't do it. I just plain don't have the spirit. But you do.
Oh, why didn't I leave you back in Dodge?
It wouldn't have mattered anyway, Mr. Dillon, because you would never just stand by and let a man die.
Let's go talk to him, Chester.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon.
Daddy's fever's worse, Mr. Marshal. I'm going to get some more water.
Yeah. How do you feel, Mr. Hantry?
I don't feel much, Marshal. Outside of burning up. I've been trying to tell Tara I just can't last long with blood poisoning. She's just got to figure on it.
Well, that's what I came to talk to you about. I guess you know the only thing that'll give you a chance.
I know. I've been thinking about it. But I couldn't ask any man to do that.
You didn't ask me. Well, it's up to you, Mr. Hantry. I'll try it if you're willing. Only thing is, I won't know much about what I'm doing.
I seen it done in the Union Army, Marshal. I could tell you some things.
All right.
The only thing is, Marshal, I don't know I'd be much use around here with one leg.
Well, you'll have to decide that for yourself.
I know.
You could move to town, Mr. Hantry, you and Tara.
That's it, Tara. If it was just me, I wouldn't do it, but I can't leave Tara alone. Now, if I can help it, I can't. All right, Marshal. Let's do it.
You're a brave man.
No, Marshal. I just don't have any choice. Come on. Let's get it over with.
You got any liquor in the house?
There's a jug of corn out in the kitchen.
Get it, Chester. You can start drinking it while we're getting everything else ready.
Tell Tara to start boiling a lot of water.
Yeah.
I'll talk to her in a few minutes.
I'll be right back.
Now, I want you to tell me everything that you know about this, Mr. Hantry.
First, I'll tell you what you'll need.
Mm-hmm.
There's a straight iron out by the corral somewhere.
Yeah.
You can heat it in the main room fireplace.
Right. Now, what else?
Tara will find some cloth for bandages. And the rest of the stuff you can get in the kitchen.
Uh-huh.
The only thing worrying me is what'll we use to tie off the arteries with? Plain thread won't hold.
Well, maybe some thin strips of rawhide.
No, they'd soak through. You got to have something.
No, I know. At least I think it'll work. What about horsehair?
Oh, that's it, Marshal. Pull it off the tail.
Ah.
It'll work fine.
Here's the jug, Mr. Hantry, and I brought you a cup, too.
Pour me some. I want to get good and drunk.
Here you are, Mr. Hantry.
You know, I ain't been drunk in the daytime since we got the news about President Lincoln in the spring of 65.
You better have your talk with Tara before that takes hold.
Ask her to come in, will you?
Come on, Chester. We got work to do.
Yes, sir. Good luck, Mr. Handtree.
Thanks. Well, Marshal.
Yeah.
Marshal, I'll try to make it easy for you.
Yeah. Sure. Shortly after noon, I operated. Whether it was the corn whiskey or his own hard courage, I don't know, but Handtree never whimpered. Chester stood outside the door and brought me whatever I needed. Tara waited in the kitchen, boiling more water and thinking her own thoughts. Maybe it was harder on her than any of us. And toward the end, Handtree mercifully passed out. When I'd finally finished bandaging him, I was kind of faint myself. I'd done everything I could. I just hoped I'd done it right.
How is he, Mr. Dillon?
You'll have to clean up in there, Chester. I've got to get outside for some air.
Yes, sir, I'll do it.
And put that fire out. It's hot enough around here.
I don't know how you did it, Mr. Dillon.
Tara? Tara, will you come on outside for a while?
Is Daddy all right? Is he all right, Mr. Marshal?
It's all over, Tara. We'll just have to wait and see now. All right. There now, Tara. He's all right.
I'm sorry, but it took so long. I thought you'd never finish.
He didn't feel much, Tara. The corn liquor worked fine. Fine.
Will he get well now?
Well, I hope so, Tara. I hope so.
Mr. Marshal, are you going to wait and see?
Oh, now, Tara, you don't have to worry about that, Chester, and I'll be here as long as you need us.
I just wanted to be sure. Can I go see Daddy now?
Well, as soon as Chester comes out, Tara, then you can.
All right. I'll wait, Mr. Marshal.
It beats me, Mr. Dillon, how he can just lay there so quiet and peaceful.
It's only been 4 or 5 hours, Chester. The liquor hasn't worn off yet.
He drank nearly the whole jug.
No, he needed it.
Say, Mr. Dillon, look yonder.
Huh?
Somebody coming with a wagon.
Oh, yeah. It's probably that Ben Walling they were talking about.
I'll bet that's who it is, all right. Wonder what he'll have to say for himself.
Ah, you'll think of something, Chester. His kind always do. You recognize him?
No, sir. Do you?
No, I never saw him before.
Hello. What are you doing here?
You Ben Walling?
How'd you know?
The Handtrees. They've been wondering about you.
Oh, yeah, sure. How's old Handtree, anyway?
He's all right.
He is, huh?
You've been gone a long time, Ben. Where were you?
I don't know you, mister, but you sure ask a lot of questions.
You can answer them one at a time. Now, where were you?
Who are you anyway, mister?
I'm a U.S. Marshal.
Ain't no U.S. Marshals around here.
There is now. Generally, I'm in Dodge.
Your name Dillon?
It is.
Well, what are you doing here, Marshal?
Tara ran into us, asked us to help. Seems the only able-bodied man around here took off in a wagon.
I went to fetch a doctor. Is anything wrong in that?
Not at all. Where is he?
Well, first night the horses ran away, and I've been chasing them ever since. I didn't catch him till this morning. And then I've been gone so long, I thought I'd better get back to you right away. I was worried about Tara and old Hantry, of course.
I see. Well, you better get your horses unhitched, Ben. You can see Tara later. She's in with her father now.
Gonna be all right, huh? I was kind of worried about that foot. Looked to me like it might have poison in it.
It did.
What do you mean it did?
I took his leg off about noon today.
You what?
Mr. Dillon did it all by himself, just like a regular doctor.
Oh, but how'd you know what to do? You might have killed him.
Somebody had to do it, Ben. It's a sure thing Tara couldn't.
You're blaming me, ain't you? Well, I did everything I could. It isn't my fault those blasted horses run off.
Hantray's pretty sick, Ben. I wouldn't bother him for a day or two if I were you.
Oh, I won't bother you. Oh, now look, Marshal. You can leave now. I'll handle everything here.
We'll leave as soon as Hantray's able to take care of himself again.
All right, stay as long as you like. I don't care.
Mr. Dillon,
Yeah.
I think that Ben is a no-good liar.
You're right on both counts, Chester. And I'll tell you something else. You see that saddle over there?
Well, that belongs to Mr. Hantry.
Yeah, I know. I looked at it this noon. Somebody cut the cinch strap on it.
Cut the cinch strap.
Mm-hmm.
No wonder that bronc bucked him in the saddle off bull.
Well, do you think Tara did it?
Oh, my goodness gracious. No, Mr. Dillon. Tara'd never do a thing like that to her own. It was Ben, wasn't it?
That'd be my guess. He figured the old man would get hurt, maybe killed.
Why, sir?
So he'd have a free hand with Tara.
Why, is that low down? Mr. Dillon, let me arrest him.
Not yet, Chester. There's plenty of time.
All right, sir. I'll wait.
There wasn't as much time as I figured. Hantry had a bad night, and by morning he was so weak he couldn't lift his head. I tried to take his pulse, but I could hardly find it. Maybe I'd operated too late. Maybe the poison had already moved up into his body. I didn't know. I had no way of knowing. So there was nothing to do now but wait.
Want some more coffee, Mr. Dillon?
Yeah, thank you, Chester. We'll fill it up, huh?
Tara won't eat anything at all, sir. She just sat there by his bed, hasn't slept a wink I know of.
Well, it's her father, Chester. He's all she's got.
I never thought much about it before, Mr. Dillon, but seeing Tara, I kind of wish I had a daughter.
You'd have to change your profession if you were going to take care of a daughter, Chester.
Why, I don't have any profession, Mr. Dillon.
Oh, Mr. Marshal.
Yeah, what is it, Tara?
Please come. Daddy wants you. I think he's...
You better come too, Chester.
Yes, sir.
It's Matt Dillon, Mr. Hantry. Can you hear me?
Marshal, I can't hold out no more.
Now, don't say that. Keep fighting, man. You'll pull through.
No, Marshal. I'm going to die.
Oh, Daddy. Daddy.
Tara. It's about Tara, Marshal. Don't leave her here. Ben Walling, he's no good. He'll try to keep her.
Now, don't you worry about Ben Walling, Mr. Hantry. I promise you he won't get anywhere near Tara. Now or ever.
Thanks, Marshal. He's a bad one. Tara can't stay here alone. She can't work this place. It's a bad way to die. Not knowing.
Now, I want you to listen to me. Listen to me now.
Yeah?
I promise you something else, too. I'll take care of Tara. I'll see she's all right. I'll see she's cared for. Now, I promise that.
I thank you, Marshal. I sure. Where's Tara?
Daddy. I'm right here. Daddy.
Tara.
Come on, Chester.
Daddy. Daddy.
I don't know, Mr. Mr. Dillon, I don't think they'd have made out on this place anyway.
Why not, Chester?
Well, there just isn't enough water. That one little old spring's all I've got.
Well, if they had a lake, it'd still be too much for Tara.
What are we going to do with her, Mr. Dillon?
I don't know, Chester. We'll have to think of something, though.
My, I wish she'd come out of that house. I don't like it, her in there breaking her heart.
Give her a little time, Chester. She'll be all right.
Don't you move a finger, either one of you.
Well,
Well, you're mighty careless with that rifle, Ben.
Don't get smart with me, Marshal. I know what I'm doing.
And what would that be?
I heard you in there. Heard you promise to take Tara away. I was right by the window. I heard it all.
You got a curious way of courting a girl, Ben, trying to kill her father.
Yeah, and I saw you yesterday looking at that saddle, but I didn't kill him, Marshal. You did.
That's a lie, Ben Walling, and
Will
you
you
know it.
shut up?
I won't shut up. If we'd have just got here sooner, Mr. Dillon would have saved him, that's all.
It was too bad you got here at all. Because you're going to die for it. Both of you.
Put the gun down, Ben. You're under arrest for attempted murder.
You stay right where you are, Marshal.
You know, I have an idea you've smelled powder before, Ben, and that you're afraid of it.
Marshal?
I have an idea that's why you tried to get hand-tree like you did instead of facing it.
Stop her.
And right now you wish you didn't have that rifle at all, don't you, Ben? Because I might have to shoot you for it, huh?
No, don't, Marshal.
Give me
that.
You all right, Mr. Dillon?
You didn't even try, Chester. Rifle went off when I knocked it aside. That's all. He was scared to death.
Well, I didn't feel exactly comfortable.
Well, tie him up and keep an eye on him. I'll go see Tara.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon.
Late that evening, we buried Hand-Tree out on the prairie, out in back of the little homestead. They would die now, too, and fall apart without him. The next morning, we loaded everything we could get into the wagon. With Tara beside me, we started out for Dodge. Ben Wallen never said a word. Chester led his horse, and they rode along ahead of us. I had plenty of time to tell Tara all about Dodge and how there were some good people there and how we'd find her a home and a family. She sat there, tight-lipped. She didn't say much, but she never once looked back.
Gunsmoke, transcribed under the direction of Norman MacDonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Tonight's story was specially written for Gunsmoke by John Meston, with music composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Featured in the cast were John Daner, Sammy Hill, and Larry Dobkin. Parley Bear is Chester. Join us again next week as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal, fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke. In case you didn't know, Jack Benny and his gang begin their new season tomorrow night. Jack, Mary, Don, Dennis, and Rochester welcome a new member to the team, the head man of CBS Radio's Club 15 show, Bob Crosby. Roy Rowan speaking. Remember, the top dramatic show of them all, the Lux Radio Theater, is heard Monday nights on the CBS Radio Network. territory on west, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with the U.S. Marshal and the smell of Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The transcribed story of the violence that moved west with young America. The story of a man who moved with it. Matt Dillon, United States Marshal.
River, Mr. Jackson. Dry as a bone. Our last hope of water for the herd.
Not quite, Pecos. Cottonwood Pond is just over the rise ahead of us.
Well, it may be dry, too. Bet they haven't had a rain on the prairie for 6 months.
It won't be dry. I've been bringing cattle up here to Dodge City for 12 years. Drought or no drought, the pond's always had water.
It better have. We're losing 15 head an hour now. We can't push them much further.
There'll be water. With luck, if the railroad's got the cars for us, we can start loading this afternoon. By this time...
Hey, sounds like the boys up ahead run into something.
Yeah, come on. There's a pond, Pecos. Plenty of water.
Yeah, I guess you were right.
Wonder why the herd's piling up. They ought to be stampeding for that pond. You think you have to... Hold up, Pecos.
A barbed wire fence. Somebody's fenced off the pond. Mr. Jackson, it looks like we've got a fight on our hands.
I don't like it, Doc. It's too quiet. When things get too quiet in Dodge, it always means a blow-up's coming.
Just sit down, Matt. You're just getting yourself a case of nerves. You've been a law officer too long. Shot at too many times. You're getting so you just act like a spooky old horse. You're jumpy and you're gun-shy. Hand me those forceps.
Oh, yeah. You mean this?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah. Now, you take me, Matt. I don't rant and rail against fate. I just sit back and take what comes.
Yeah, sure, Doc.
Mm-hmm. If I get a patient, fine. I steal him blind. And if I don't, well, I keep my hand in setting a broken leg on a dog. Yeah, there. That splint ought to hold him. Matter of fact, I could use a fee or two. Not planning to shoot anybody, are you, Matt?
Yeah, if this drought doesn't break, I'm in the mood to shoot myself.
That's a bad one, all right. I don't think I've ever seen the prairie as dry as it is this year.
Oh, there you are, Mr. Dillon.
Well, come on in, Chester.
I've been looking all over for you. We've got trouble, Mr. Dillon.
Huh? Trouble?
Old man Howard just sent a rider in. A trail drive's pulled in from the Big Bend. They're threatening to cut his fences so they can water the cattle at Cottonwood Pond.
Well, there's your blow-up, Matt. A real head-on smash. A thirsty herd against that skinflint Howard. I bet I could get myself a few fees out of this before it's over.
Good old Doc, always hoping for the best, huh? Now, come on, Chester, let's ride out to Cottonwood.
Howard had no call to fence that pond, Mr. Dillon. There's enough water there for all the trail herds in the next 10 years.
That's on his ranch, Chester. He's got a right to fence his own range.
Got a right, maybe, but no decent rancher would take advantage of it. Howard's mean. Just downright mean.
I think it's more than that, Chester. It's the old business of making $2 grow where $1 grew before. I think Howard figured on something like this when he strung that fence last month. But the trouble is that we...
Look yonder, Mr. Dillon.
Huh?
Must be 50 or 60 riders facing each other across that fence.
Yeah.
Looks like a couple of armies.
Well, that wouldn't be the first range war that started over water rights. Come on.
Who says so, mister?
I do.
Who are you?
Dillon, U.S. Marshal, out of Dodge.
Marshal, that man and his gang have threatened to break through my fences and trespass on my property. I demand the protection of the law.
You'll get it, Howard. You the owner of this herd?
That's right, Marshal. Jack Jackson from the Circle Z spread down in the Big Bend. Maybe you can make this fella see reason. I got a herd of cattle here that's dying like flies for lack of water. Over there, 100 yards, is plenty of water. Only this sneaking crook has fenced it in. How about it, Marshal?
Well, it's his land, Jackson. The law gives him the right to fence it.
Law? Right. Everything I got in the world's tied up in that herd. There's 25 trail riders there in the saddle I can't even pay wages to if I lose these cattle. Does the law uphold pushing a man against the wall and wiping him out?
It wasn't intended to. Howard, why don't you ride up here to the fence and talk, huh?
Sure, Marshal. No objections at all. It's my fence, ain't it?
Well, nobody's doubting it. Now, look, is there any reason why you can't get together with this man and let him take that herd in and water it?
I made him an offer. He turned it
No,
down.
for $1 a head a day for water, or buy the herd himself for $3 a head.
That's a pretty stiff terms, Howard.
Better than losing everything like he's gonna do.
Why, you dirty
All right,
loser.
hold it, both of you. Now, look, if there's any gunslinging starts, I'm going to be in on it, too, you understand? Howard, I just don't understand you. Most people out here on the frontier stick together when trouble starts. They don't kick a man when he's down. And they don't look on a drought or a blizzard as a chance to make a personal cleaning.
Just a minute, Dillon. You call yourself the law in Dodge. All right. Does the law say I can fence in my own land?
It does.
And never mind your opinions, Marshal. All I want out of you is enforcement of the law.
All right, Howard, you'll get it. And that's all you'll get. Jackson, you better have your boys start the herd circling.
This mean you're backing him up, Marshal?
I'm backing up the law, that's all, Jackson.
And I don't think much of your laws up here.
I only enforce them, I don't make them. Now, you better circle that herd.
I say you better. I'm ordering my boys to shoot the first man or steer that comes through that fence.
Chester, you cover Howard.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dillon.
And if he orders any of his men to fire a shot, kill him.
Be a pleasure, Mr. Dillon.
What's the idea, Marshal?
You wanted the law enforced. All right, you're getting it. But I'm going to do the enforcing, Howard, not you. So if you're smart, you won't give any orders about shooting.
All right, Mr. Dillon, you got a tough job. I guess you're trying to do it fair and square.
Man does what he has to do, Jackson.
I know. It's like with me. If that herd of mine beds down without water, most of them won't get off the ground in the morning. So law or no law, we're going through that fence tonight.
Matt.
Huh? Oh, hello,
What's the
Kate.
matter? Bad liquor or a busted steak?
Neither. How are you?
Eager. But you've probably noticed that before. Seriously, though, what's wrong?
Plenty. One of the bloodiest little range wars you ever saw is just about to break.
Out of Cottonwood Pond, I heard about it.
Did you hear, too, that I'm back on the wrong side?
Here, pull a stool up to the bar. Harry, a drink for Mr. Dillon.
No, thanks. I can't stay, Kitty. I gotta try to round up some deputies, and try is probably about as far as I'm gonna get. Old Ton will be siding with the Texas boys against Howard and against me.
Maybe you ought to switch sides, Matt.
Oh, sure, I oughta. I know, but I can't. If I started making my own rules, it'd mean the end of law and order in Dodge City. Yeah, I just can't do it, Kitty. Much as I'd like to.
Well, not for me to say. You're the one who has to decide.
Yeah, Chester. What'd you find out?
Mr. Hightower down at the railroad depot checked clear through to Topeka. They can't get enough cattle cars here to load that herd out before day after tomorrow.
Well, that's that. It's an outside chance anyway. Yeah, I just can't do it, Kitty. Much as I'd like to.
Well, not for me to say. You're the one who has to decide.
Yeah, Chester. What'd you find out?
Mr. Hightower down at the railroad depot checked clear through to Topeka. They can't get enough cattle cars here to load that herd out before day after tomorrow.
Well, that's that. It's an outside chance anyway. I thought we might load them up fast, Kitty, and run them up to Walnut Creek. It's still got a little water in it. But
Matt, there's something wrong with the law that upholds a low-down scheme like this.
Well, what Howard's doing is wrong morally, but it's right legally. I gotta find a legal way to stop him.
I bet a lawyer could find a way of some kind. Too bad this town doesn't have one.
Oh, heaven forbid.
Just the same, Matt,
Dillon?
Yeah, what is it?
My name's Fenton. I'm range boss.
Yeah, I know. You work for Dyke Howard. Well, what's on your mind?
Well, Mr. Howard figures you ought to be arranging to protect his property.
Jackson gave me his word he'd lay off until 9 tonight.
His word, sure. But Mr. Howard figures it'd be a good idea if you deputize his riders.
Fenton, get up.
Now, wait a second, Marshal.
Go on, get up. When I want Howard's advice, I'll ask for it. Now go tell him that.
Well, yeah, but...
Go on. Get up. Move. Deputize his riders. Sure, he'd like that.
Well, it just may come to that, Mr. Dillon. I couldn't get anybody else.
You know, I ought to throw this badge away and go out there and help Jackson cut that fence.
Matt, I still think what you ought to do...
I know. I ought to get a lawyer.
Well,
Kitty, the only lawyer Dodge City ever saw was that young fellow from Boston who died here last year on his way... Hey.
What is it, Matt?
Chester, what happened to those books of his?
Well, nobody never claimed them. They're still in the back of the jail there somewhere.
That's a long shot, but... Kitty, I love you.
Matt.
Come on, Chester, let's find those books. I don't know, Chester. Take a man a year just to learn what these words mean.
Well, I sure can't help you, Mr. Dillon. Looky there. Tort. Replevin. Statutory malfeasance. Why don't they write the laws out in English?
Be no work for lawyers, then. The only thing that might do it is this one. I'm not too sure what it means.
Evening, Matt.
Oh, Doc, come on in here, will you?
I figured I'd bring you a little courage for the battle.
What?
Might be snakes out at Cottonwood Pond.
It's very thoughtful.
Yes, sir. Calomel and Irish whiskey. No doctor west of the Mississippi ought to be without him. The calomel's for the woman, you understand?
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. Of course, a bottle of Jameson might not cure a patient, but it sure makes him enjoy his illness.
Yeah. Look, Doc, you've been to school. At least I guess you have.
Oh, well, I browsed through a couple.
Well, listen to this now, and tell me what you think about this paragraph right here.
This? Well, let me see. A schedule of territorial ordinances and judicial precedents. Handbook for local administrators. Well, I didn't go to law school, man.
No, but you've read books, and you know big words. Now listen to this. The local administrator or other duly constituted authority in a territorial division is hereby empowered to declare a state of acute emergency in case of riot, rebellion, or any natural catastrophe which threatens the general welfare. Now, Doc, would you say I'm a duly constituted authority, huh?
Well, Dodge City, I guess you're about the only authority.
Yeah. Now, would you say this drought we're having is a threat to the general welfare?
Well, I've never seen a worse one, but...
All right, now listen to this.
Yeah?
During the period of such emergency, the officer in charge is authorized to seize, confiscate, allocate, or otherwise administer critical materials and facilities in accordance with a common need and his own discretion.
All right, Matt. Water is a material.
Yeah?
And as far as keeping cattle alive is concerned, Cottonwood Pond is a facility.
That's all I wanted to know.
I don't see how it'll help you, though, Matt. Howard will never stand for it. You're still going to have a pitched battle on your hands.
Maybe so, Doc. But at least I'll be fighting in the way I want to fight. Well, come on, Chester, let's go. It's 8 o'clock.
We will return for the second act of Gunsmoke in just a moment. But first, you personally can help to make sure America has an impregnable fence against invaders along all its borders by volunteering as a ground observer to watch the skies for unidentified planes. Men and women from teenage up, write or phone your nearest Civil Defense Center. Now, the second act of Gunsmoke.
It's dark now. Must be pushing 9 o'clock. Hope they don't jump the gun on us, Chester.
I figure Jackson will stick by his word, Mr. Dillon.
If Howard lets him.
You know, we might get a break in this drought if that storm comes this way.
No, I'd say it's only heat lightning. All thunder and no rain.
Well, if it goes on a few more weeks, this prairie will be dried right down to the nubbin.
All right. Hold it. Pull up them horses.
He's right there by the fence, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, I see it.
Who's there? Well, speak up.
I usually answer bushwhackers with a 6-gun. This is your lucky night, Fenton.
Oh, Marshal, I didn't know.
Where's your boss?
All right here, Dillon. About time you got here. That mob may try to rush the fence any minute now.
Not yet, Howard. I said 9 o'clock. You got 5 minutes yet.
Come on over here, Jackson. I want you to hear this, too.
I kind of wish you'd stayed out of it, Marshal. Rather not have fought against you.
Never mind. Mr. Howard, by the authority vested in me as a U.S. Marshal, and under the territorial laws and ordinances of the United States, I'm hereby declaring a state of acute emergency due to the drought.
What are you talking about, Dillon?
The U.S. Territorial Ordinance Schedule of 1858, Section 721C.
What are you trying to say?
Just this. For the duration of the emergency, I am taking charge of Cottonwood Pond in the name of the United States government. And I'm allocating use of it to Mr. Jackson here to water his herd. Now, if you want to try to make a deal with him, you got 5 minutes before I cut the wire and open the fence.
I've never bought water before, but I'll give you 10 cents a head, Howard. How about it?
I'll see you dead first. And I'll be struck dead myself before I see one head of your stock onto my property. Dillon, I don't know what's behind this move. Maybe you've sold out, made a deal of your own.
Easy, Howard.
If not that, then you've lost your mind.
Your 5 minutes are running out now. What are you going to do?
Fight! What do you think I'm going to do?
Going to resist the law?
You call it the law, I don't. Dillon, I'm giving my boys orders to shoot any man who lays a hand on this fence. And that goes for you.
Listen to me, Howard. You got a chance to do something that costs you nothing and means life or death to somebody else. And you're refusing to do it. Well, I'm sorry to see it that way. But in any case, this herd gets water.
Maybe they will. All right, boys, you heard it. Keep that fence covered. If they want to fight, they'll get one.
Jackson, I guess I'm going to need some deputies.
Well, I got 25 men here, Marshal. They're yours if you want them.
All right, boys. Will you all raise your right hands? Do you swear to uphold the Constitution, ordinances, and bylaws of the United States to the best of your ability, so help you?
I do.
All right, you're all temporary deputy marshals acting under my orders. Now bunch the cattle in this way and start them through the fence as soon as I open the wire.
They won't need much starting, Marshal. They've been smelling that water for hours.
Now don't shoot unless you're fired on. If you are, protect yourselves and your herd. All right, let's go.
Pecos! Keep those flankers closing them in toward the opening here. If they crowd on that fence, they'll cut themselves to rebel.
Right, boss. Over this way.
Chester, come here, man.
Yes, sir.
You got the wire cutters?
Here you are, Mr. Dillon. You know, I think we got a fight on our hands.
Yeah, I guess. All right, keep me covered.
I'll watch the left over here.
All right, Mr. Jackson. Well, there's one strand left.
They're cutting the fence, Mr. Howard.
All right, fire at the flash, Chester.
Yes, sir. Oh, my gracious, I wish there was a moon.
There's one more strand.
I spotted him.
And here's the last one. Now.
All right, boys, the fence is open. Bring them through.
Come on through, boys. Come on. Heads up, Chester. They won't give in this easy.
Yeah, you can hear them out there, but you can't see for the dust.
Yeah. Wind's coming up off that cloud. Well, come on. Let's try to find Howard. I'm going to take him in for attempted murder.
Last time I heard him, he was down along the fence here, Summers.
All right, boys. Fire the grass.
What the?
Look. Look at them torches, Mr. Dillon. They're setting fire in the grass.
Yeah. As dry as it is, they'll start the whole prairie blazing. Jackson! Get your herd through the fence. They're trying to stampede it.
It'll take more than fire to turn those cattle away from water.
I guess you're right. Look, send as many as your boys as you can to help me. We got to get that fire stopped and fast.
I don't know, Mr. Dillon. I don't know if we're winning or losing.
Well, if that backfire holds it, we're winning, Chester. Otherwise...
Couldn't have been a worse time. The prairie's dry as gunpowder.
Well, at least the herd's safe. They wouldn't leave that pond if the whole world caught fire.
Any orders for the boys, Mr. Dillon?
Yeah, just have them keep working along the edge of the backfire, Pecos. Beat out any sparks that get across.
Right, Marshal, I got you.
Have you seen anything of the Howard gang?
Oh, not a sign. I guess they figured they'd done all they could.
Yeah, maybe.
Mr. Dillon, I'd swear a storm's going to break. I can halfway smell the rain.
I don't know about that, Chester. But it's doing one thing it won't help us.
What do you mean?
Look, the wind's shifting. It's starting to drive those flames across the backfire.
Well, if it catches there again, it'll get clear away from
Yeah,
us.
it sure will. Now, come on. Let's grab some of the boys and start working behind it.
Yes,
Let's go, Dillon.
Well, Fenton, I figured you'd be halfway to the Mexican border by now.
Well, you figured wrong. You keep your hands still, both of you. One move and it's your last move.
That's about the way you planned it anyway, isn't it?
You wiped us out, Dillon. That backfire of yours took the ranch house and the barns. There's nothing for us to do now but drift. Only first I'm going to kill you.
Hit the dirt, Chester. Fenton, drop the gun. You're under arrest.
I'll drop it, you dirt. Dillon. Dillon,
Well, you warned him, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, it doesn't matter much now. Look, Chester.
Yes, sir. It's jumped the backfire. With that wind driving it, it'll burn the whole prairie from here clear to the river.
And Dodge City along with it. Not a way in the world of stopping it either.
There's the shot, Marshal. You all right?
I'm sick at my stomach, that's all. Dodge City's gonna burn, Jackson, and there's nothing we can do.
I sure didn't figure on this. I let him have the herd, gladly.
No, it's my fault. I should have jumped him first.
A man does what he has to, Marshal. I don't think that's your way.
Well, maybe my way's the wrong way. When it leads to burning 10,000 acres of prairie in a whole town, there must be something wrong.
Wait, Mr. Dillon.
What is it, Chester?
I told you I could smell it.
Smell what? What the devil? Rain!
Yes, sir.
By heavens, it's starting to rain!
By heaven may be the right expression.
Well, I don't know about that, but I know it's the only thing that can save Dodge. Well, come on, rain! Faster! Cut loose and rain, will you?
It's a going in, Mr. Dillon. Look at it. Beating down on that fire.
Rain! Chester. You know, out here on the frontier sometimes, when a thing like this happens, it makes you wonder if maybe... Well, I don't know. Come on, Chester, let's find our horses.
It's sure not letting up any, Mr. Dillon.
No. We're still quite a ways from town. Let's swing over along the bluff, Chester, and find a place to wait it out for a while, huh?
That's what I was hoping you'd say.
Come on.
Well, it took a long time to break loose, but it's sure making up for lots. Wow! I never saw lightning this big before.
Usually lets up once the rain starts. I guess it's just a freak storm anyway. What? Off your horse, Chester. Flat on the ground. Now.
I saw it flash, Mr. Dillon. It come from that lone cottonwood tree.
Yeah. It's a bad spot. He's got cover and we haven't. Well, I guess we found out what happened to Mr. Howard. All right, Howard. Come out with your hands up. You're under arrest.
Why don't you come and get it, Dillon?
I'm going to flip a shot at the tree, Chester. Roll away as soon as I fire.
Yes.
All right. Now.
Smart, Dillon. You're not smart enough.
That was close.
There's enough light for him to see. He's got all the odds. If he keeps it up, he'll get us sure.
Maybe we might just well rush him, Mr. Dillon. We haven't got much to lose.
It's an outside chance, Chester. That he's bound to get one of us.
Yeah, but this way it's both.
Yeah, I know. All right. We'll go in on the count of 3. Fan out and move fast.
Yes, sir.
And, good luck, Chester.
Same to you, Mr. Dillon.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Mr. Dillon, what happened?
It was lightning. It struck the tree. I think Howard's lying over there on the ground. Come on. Yeah. He's down, all right.
He said he'd be struck dead before he'd ever give in. Well, he was.
By heaven, I don't know. The second time tonight. You know, Chester, I think I'm going to change my ways. Gunsmoke, transcribed under the direction of Norman MacDonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Tonight's story was specially written for Gunsmoke by Les Crutchfield, with music composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Featured in the cast were Harry Bartell and Lou Krugman, with Joe Duvall, Barney Phillips, and Georgia Ellis. Parley Bear is Chester, and Howard McNear is Doc. Join us again next week as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal, fights to bring law and order out of the wild violence of the West in Gunsmoke. Where there's crime afoot, look for gangbusters tonight.